Hi everyone, today I'll be watching Which Pokemon Generation is the Most Important by MNJTV. Hi, I'm Maple. I like Pokemon. So, I assume in this video he's going to be talking about stats, abilities, and that kind of stuff when they were introduced, how much of an impact they made. Emotionally, I'm attached to Gen 3. So yeah, like to me, that Pokemon generation is the most important, just because that is when I could play Pokemon. Just because I didn't have a Game Boy, I didn't have a Game Boy Color, but my cousin gave me his old Game Boy Advance when his parents upgraded him to a Game Boy SP. So Gen 3 for me. I just have really fond memories of Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, so that's mine. I'm gonna go to the React corner now. Okay, hold up. Give me a second. What?
Which Pokemon generation had the biggest impact on the franchise? It's Gen 1.
Well,
obviously. Without that, we have no others. But after Gen 1, which mattered most? I ranked them least to most impactful. The lowest on this list is, maybe unsurprisingly, Gen 9. But I've not placed it here simply because there have yet to be any generations after. It's simply because the mechanical changes are generally minor. And now's a good time to mention that for this ranking, I am focusing on those exclusively. Upgrades, new mechanics, battle adjustments, quality of life improvements, etc. A discussion of which generation has the most iconic or the best roster of Pokemon not only gets far too subjective, but it also has way less to do with impact on the subsequent games.
I want to say for like when they updated things like quality of life, I really like that. I think it was in Gen 5, they made TMs reusable, right? Like before, the only thing that you could reuse would be HMs, because HMs would be the one that you could just teach multiple Pokemon since they were required to traverse the overworld. But then you have to go find the move deleter, because apparently this is the only guy that can make your Pokemon forget like Rock Smash. And I'm like, why? So it would be like such a pain in the ass, because sometimes I get a really cool TM and I go, okay, but now I have to choose which Pokemon gets like this TM. And then once you use it, you can never use it again. So then you bump into a new Pokemon later, then you're like, damn, I could have taught like, I don't know, Bullet Seed ain't that great, but I could have had Bullet Seed. Because I remember you get the Bullet Seed TM from that guy outside the flower shop that is just when you exit Petalburg Woods. And I would always teach that one to when I had like my run with like, you know, with a grass starter. And then eventually I go, okay, well now it's not that great because now my grass starter is learning different moves. But it kind of sucks. So I really like that Gen 5 made the TMs reusable. And then somewhere along the line, I don't know which gen, TRs were introduced. And I'm like, why would you do this? Why would you do this to me?
But back to Gen 9's mechanical changes, first is crafting TM.
Yeah! Is these the TRs? Fuck.
I'll talk about this more during a discussion of another generation. Next is terrestrialization. But this doesn't count. This is a region/generation specific feature. Like it's gonna come back to champions at some point, but in the mainline games, it's not a new staple. Every generation has features like this, such as secret bases or super.
I love secret bases. Oh my god, wait.
Every generation has features like this, such as secret.
I love secret bases because like the thing I would spend my money on, I want to say after getting like the Pokénav like post game and that kind of, well, you get the Pokénav in game, but you know, I would use the Pokénav like post game to rebattle a lot of trainers, especially the ones that I'm like, okay, so this one gives me a lot of money. So this one gives me a lot of money. So then I would go to, I believe, the Lily Cove department store and buy everything. Then I go buy everything, and then I would set up my secret base. And I make it in multiple places, even though like you can only have one secret base. But sometimes you're just like, what if I just want to move from like this tree to like a cave, and then back to a tree sometimes? And it was a lot of fun.
Secret bases or super training or SOS battles. But if the feature doesn't survive to most or any generations after, then it has little impact on the generation's impact. So from this point on, most of those kinds of features I'm just not even gonna bring up. The next Scarlet and Violet perk was the minimum level for hyper training was reduced to 50 instead of 100. Very nice for building competitive Pokemon, but not really a big deal in playthroughs. Convergent evolution Pokemon were added, but to be honest, they don't really feel that important since they're just regional variants in a different font. Auto battles were introduced, but
I want to say they're also not very important because there's like no guarantee that these Pokemon will be available in, I don't know, let's say Gen 10, right? So it's like, while these Pokemon exist, in like the generation they're introduced, obviously, we might not see these guys in Pokemon Wind and Waves, I believe, when it comes out. So while it's nice that they're here, it wouldn't really count as like, oh yeah, this is so impactful.
Since they're just regional variants in a different font. Auto battles were introduced, but I don't really find them a big deal, and I see little indication that they will return. Then finally, and most importantly, Scarlet and Violet are the first completely open world Pokemon games. Open world games could be the new standard for mainline Pokemon games. Legend ZA came after, and it is an open world game, albeit one with a very small map. And our short glimpses of Winds and Waves certainly make it seem quite open. But while Scarlet and Violet are the first completely open world games, we'd had glimpses of that before. Sword and Shield had 3 smaller open world areas, and Legends Arceus is a collection of smaller open worlds. Additionally, Winds and Waves may not end up being totally open world. It's clearly a series of islands, but there could be an island by island progression system with smaller open worlds, essentially blending the Alola games with Legends Arceus. We don't know. Gen 9's completely open worlds could end up being flashes in the pan. So maybe Gen 9 could move up this list once Gen 10 comes out, but then the new bottom spot would probably be Gen 10. It's simply that the most recent generation is gonna struggle to score high on a list, ranking things by their impact on what came later. And by definition, the most recent thing has nothing that has come after. Next up is Gen 5. I
love Gen 5. Hold up.
Nothing that has come after. Next up is Gen 5.
Hidden abilities, I believe, were introduced in Gen 5. Reusable TMs and that kind of stuff were introduced in Gen 5. The quality of life changes that weren't in Pokemon Black and White, but were in Pokemon Black and White 2. For example, when your Repel runs out, it will automatically just ask you, would you like to use another? That's great. That was in Black and White 2, not in Black and White 1, unfortunately. Yeah, there's a lot of quality of life, I want to say, that happened in Gen 5, and I want to say specifically Black and White 2. There were a lot of times when I played Black and White and I went, oh, I thought they had this feature. But it turns out I was just misremembering and it was actually in Black and White too. So yeah, I like Gen 5. I liked it a lot. And also it's just like, maybe it's because I have a soft spot because 1, I am currently made of pixel art. I'm currently made of pixel art. I really like pixel art, you know? And like it being the last generation with the pixel art, like very vibrant pixel art as well. After moving to X and Y. It's like, I don't have, like, you know, it's a preference. I don't have that many issues with the 3D models. I do believe some of them look really washed out, but that's like whatever, right? I just really like pixel art. And that's me.
I know that many things about Gen 5 are, deservedly, quite popular. The animated sprites, the story, the sequels. But those are Gen 5 specific things that don't apply elsewhere. Other than Legend ZA, which is an XY sequel, so that's worth mentioning, but it's the only sequel outside of Gen 5. The mechanical introductions of Gen 5 are notable, but there's only 2, and one of them has only sort of survived. Okay, I guess I should mention that HMs no longer cared about what badge you had. Like, as soon as you know the move, you can use it outside of battle, but like, that didn't really have any real impact on progression through the game.
I guess that also makes sense because eventually HMs were just phased out completely, so it's like, you can only count for them so much.
And also they added triple and rotation battles, but those didn't survive past Gen 6. The first of the 2 that matter is the Shiny Charm. Introduced in Black 2 and White 2, if you completed the National Pokédex, which is an insane amount of work, you received the Shiny Charm key item, effectively tripling your chances to find a shiny. This item has been present in every mainline game since, and the requirements to obtain it have been significantly relaxed.
The tripling your chances to being from 1 out of like, what was that number? 8,192, just being 3 out of that is kind of funny. It's like, well, it's something.
It's a great fun item, because who doesn't love more shinies? But it's super late game, and most players are just never gonna put in the effort to obtain it. I don't really know if the audience of this video is an accurate representation of the general Pokemon player base. You guys are probably on the higher end of fandom, like me, but
Yeah, that does remind me of like, it was something I recently reacted to. It's like 12 things, or I believe it was 12 things that you probably didn't do in Pokemon. Well, something along the lines of that, right? Where he was talking about the Battle Chateau. And when I reacted to it, a lot of people in the comments actually went, well, actually, people, I became a Grand Duke. And I'm like, damn, bro. Damn, bro, you put in a lot of effort. I like went into the building once and saw that I had to tip them, so I just left.
I assure you, there is a large swath of players who will play every new game that comes out and have never once gotten the shiny charm. Most mechanics, additions, and changes that I'll discuss in this video are things that impact every single playthrough right from the start. The other Gen 5 change is more important, but its longevity is up for debate. TMs stopped breaking. Prior to Gen 5, technical machines could be used only once, then broke and disappeared. For some moves, you could buy more than one, such as in the department stores, but for most, you got one single TM for very important move.
Yeah, Thunderbolt, Flamethrower, Ice Beam, Shadow Ball, Psychic, Earthquake, these were all like single use, and you only get one throughout the entire game. I do remember watching a video one time, oh god. It was for like really old competitive Pokemon. I want to say it was maybe Gen 3, where someone won a tournament because they managed to get a TM that was only available on a Pokemon game on the GameCube. And I think it was like Explosion, and to get that TM you have to beat the game and do something else, and then you have to transfer it over to your game, and then I believe they taught their Mewtwo Explosion or something like that. I don't actually remember the full details since it's been a long time since I've watched that video, but it's a lot. It's a lot.
This was incredibly stupid. Some Pokemon needed a TM to have a good stab move. Some wanted the coverage, but you needed the TM for something else that needed a good stab move. And sure, some good TMs were easily and infinitely purchasable in the department stores, but others could only be bought from the game corners. You had to spend countless hours gambling just for Ice Beam. One time! What this led to was players, myself definitely included, just never using TMs. What if something better and more perfect comes along later, but you've already broken your one CD?
So, for this one, when I went to the game corner, I remember needing to go battle literally everyone again. So that way I can just buy the coins instead of gambling. And then I would just do that over and over and over. Now, I would not do that. As a kid, I had free time.
Gen 5 finally fixed this, allowing you to teach your Pokemon the best moves.
Wait.
Gen 5 finally fixed this, allowing you.
Reshiram's name is Shawarma. I love that for him. Yo, that's an amazing name.
To teach your Pokemon the best moves without worry. But not just that, it's really nice to be able to teach your Pokemon middle of the pack moves in the middle of a playthrough, with no worries about just deleting them later. I absolutely love this change, but it didn't end up being permanent. Exactly. Its spirit remains, but its body has been mostly killed off. Gens 6 and 7 had unbreaking TMs, but then things changed in most every game after. Sword and Shield split the CDs into TMs for weaker attacks and status moves, and TRs, short for technical records, mostly for stronger attacks. TMs don't break, but TRs do. However, you can obtain more TRs from raids and the Watt traders in the wild area. BDSP made...
It's like, the TRs were fine since you can just go and like do the raids and get them from the traders in the open world areas and that kind of stuff. But it was just still kind of annoying to just have like a separate page for them and be like, oh man, time to go farm for, I don't know, Blizzard and Surf. I just liked the fact that TMs just didn't break, and I was just really nice to have.
TRs from raids and the Watt traders in the wild area. BDSP made everything a TM again, but now they all break again. At least you can buy more from the randomized traders in the underground. Legends Arceus did away with TMs entirely in favor of just a move tutor, which was totally fine. But then Scarlet and Violet brought back breaking TMs. However, they allowed you to craft more at any Pokemon Center using parts obtained from wild Pokemon, such as Volbeat Fluid. Also, funnily enough, I don't actually think that's used in any TM recipe. You just get Volbeat Fluid to do with as you choose. And then in Legends ZA, TMs went back to being unbreakable. To summarize, in many games, the Gen 5 change was reverted to give the player a reason to seek out the special currency or materials that those games featured. Now it's up to you whether you consider that to be annoying or a way to deepen the gameplay experience. But regardless of your feelings toward it, it means that the Gen 5 change didn't last in the way that many others do. The spirit of it, making TM moves repeatable, survives. But the simple mechanic of TMs don't break did not turn out to be as ironclad as we originally thought.
Ha! It is I, go.
Small! Wait, that's a beautiful freeze frame. All right, Schmall.
It's a battle, win or lose. It's the friends you make. Subscribe or you will lose. Hello there. It is I, Simple Meeple, and I have a picture of Big Maple on my head. Do you like it? She's in a queen outfit. Please tell me you like it. Cause I have it on my head. I will not choose bad headwear otherwise, you know? Hi, it is I, Small. I live in Big Maple's closet. I am so chilling right now. I have a jacket on even though it's hot outside because I cranked up the AC in my closet. Sometimes I want to be wasteful. I mean, what?
Runty boy!
I'm
and
Small.
You like dragons?
I'm
Yes.
not letting you get me with that.
What? I'm talking about the sponsor of this video, Dragon Village 3.
Oh heck, I would have been got. It was a these nuts joke. Oh.
Oh. Well, that's embarrassing. It's just, you know, with the kids
I'm
these days...
Dragon
embarrassed.
Village 3 is a collectible RPG that focuses on collecting, breeding, and raising dragons. Collect a ton of different dragons and discover rare new species through the breeding system, all in an adorable pixel art style.
I like pixel art. Big Maple, can I have a pixel model too? Big Maple!
I'll work on it.
Yeah!
I love that art style. Nostalgic yet polished. Like me.
The game,
You think I'm polished?
yes, you're just old.
We're the same age!
Big Maple, you're old!
What the fuck?
You can also construct and decorate your village with habitats, buildings, and cozy spaces, and it won't just be an empty town. The dragons wander, play, and interact, making it feel alive. You can then take them into real-time strategy PvP battles and aim for the top of the arena. And
I don't need to aim for the top of arena because Big Maple tells me I'm number one.
it's not just PvP. Join your guild members in taking on boss raids, such as the massive Dragon Slayer, and grow stronger together. Dragon Village 3 also has a story mode. Explore the secrets of the dragon world, featuring high-quality
That's
illustrations
great,
and
bro.
charming characters. This will be
I'm
regularly
charming.
added to, keeping the game fresh over time.
Fresh
I'm
over
fresh!
time. Like me?
You're embarrassing yourself. Play Dragon Village 3
But
today
I'm
by heading to
fresh.
my link in the description below. Now off I go to collect... Oh, what was it?
Dragons.
Dragging these nuts across your face.
I knew it!
Ta-ta!
I've been fooled. I'm leaving. Okay, bye everybody.
I'm back, yeah. I can't believe she just watches an ad and calls me old. It's fine.
Next is Gen 8. It's not had much time to leave an impact, but it did introduce several things that already appear to be staples. Sword and Shield get a little bit of credit for the wild area, the first open world anything in Pokemon. As already discussed, this spread and expanded to the full open world games in Gen 9. The wild area also featured raids, 4 trainers teaming up against one big boss battle. When these were first introduced, I fully expected them to be a Galar-only feature due to how central Dynamax, a Galar-only mechanic, was to how the raids worked. And while no
Like, honestly, the raids I did find, like, to be kind of fun, especially when I actually had people to, hold up, let me find
open
it.
world games in Gen 9, the wild area also featured raids, 4
Yeah, so, like, I liked the raids when they first came out. They were a lot of fun, especially when I had, like, a group of friends to actually do the raids with, because the NPCs... okay, so the NPCs were god-awful. I forget which one it was, but sometimes I get paired up with the NPC that has a soul rock that does nothing but use cosmic power, and then they die. And then you can't complete the raid because, you know what? You get kicked out. You took too long. Yeah, fuck you, right? Yeah, so when I had people to do them with, it was great. I had a good time. And then when Scarlet and Violet had the raids, unfortunately, due to lag, sometimes I found that maybe it's just, I don't know, maybe it's just the servers or some shit like that. I found that the bar for time, of how much time you have to complete the raid, would be from, like, I don't know, half the bar, and then I would choose one move, and then the raid is over. So, yeah. That one I found a lot less fun. Even when I had, like, people doing the raids with me, I found in Scarlet and Violet, we'd somehow always run out of time, or, like, barely make it. And we were watching the bar, and it would be really full, and then suddenly it would just not be, you know?
trainers teaming up against one big boss battle. When these were first introduced, I fully expected them to be a Galar-only feature due to how central Dynamax, a Galar-only mechanic, was to how the raids worked. And while no raids came in BDSP or Legends Arceus, Terra raids are a major piece of Scarlet and Violet. It remains to be seen what happens in Winds and Waves, but I think there's a significant chance that in the non-remake, non-Legends games, raids become a recurring feature. Next, Sword and Shield plus Legends Arceus also introduced the concept of regional evolutions. Previous games had plenty of new evolutions for previous gen Pokemon, but Gen 8 was the first time that just the regional form of a Pokemon could evolve. Those are the weaker pieces though. There are 4 others that are already clear, permanent fixtures. First, Nature Mints. For many years, if you got a Pokemon with a terrible nature-
I love Nature Mints. They're so good. They're so good. Like, the quality of life that happened in later gens where you can change the nature of your Pokemon, and also, I believe it's a lot easier to get a good, like, IV spread and that kind of stuff. I don't remember, or did they just get rid of IVs in general? I don't remember what they did with that. But I do appreciate the Nature Mints a lot.
Your only recourse was to replace it. But now Nature Mints let you easily change your Pokemon's stats to fit your desired nature. And they've already appeared in every game from Sword and Shield onward, becoming easier and easier to obtain with each one. Next is the removal of the National Dex. Starting with Sword and Shield, you can no longer transfer any and all Pokemon into the game, just the ones that have been coded in. This was a massive controversy when announced, and many people hate this.
Yeah, I do remember the bring back the National Dex, like, controversy, just because it was basically everywhere. It was everywhere for, I want to say, once it was announced, and then for the entire, like, for the next year after Sword and Shield was even released, right? Bring back the national decks. It's like, I understand, like, people like to catch them all. That's just it. Like people just like to catch them all, and they want to have the option to catch them all. I don't think I've ever completed a Pokédex, but that's just me. I've never completed, like, I don't think I've completed a Pokédex in, like, a lot of these games I've played. I tend to just play and be like, yeah, I like this Pokemon. Yeah, I like this Pokemon. Yeah, I like this Pokemon. I catch the Pokemon. I like this Pokemon. But, maybe one day I'll actually complete a Pokédex.
But you cannot deny that it's the new standard. No
Yeah.
Pokemon game since has allowed you to transfer all of the previous Pokemon into it. I mean, how could they? There's 1,028 now, with many more on the way. Also, you could argue that this began with Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, not Sword and Shield, since Let's Go only allowed the original 151 into the game. But I do think Sword and Shield gets the credit for this. Let's Go was kind of presented as a one-off, this is a special type thing, just like faithful to the original games, blah, blah, blah. Whereas they announced this change as part of Sword and Shield's promo, and thus spawned the Dexit controversy. So this adjustment is just fully intertwined with Gen 8. Sword and Shield also killed enhanced versions. Prior to Gen 8, an in-generation update to a region was accomplished by totally new games, with nearly identical story and game progression.
Yeah, it's like the Ruby Sapphire into the Emerald, the Diamond Pearl into Platinum, and then, well, I guess Black and White just had Black and White too.
Yellow, Crystal, Emerald,
Yeah.
Platinum, kind of Black 2, White 2, but they're sequels
Yeah,
with a different story.
kinda.
Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. But thanks to the technological advancements of the Switch and the internet, allowing patches and updates to be pushed after launch, enhanced versions went away, replaced by paid expansion passes, DLC. Sword and Shield had the first, followed by Scarlet and Violet. Legend ZA got one too, but I think they matter more for the new generation's new region, since those were what always got the enhanced versions in the past.
Yeah, and let's see. I'm like looking at
DLC.
these. I got one of these. I don't think I got both of them. And then for Legend ZA, I did get the Mega Dimensions DLC. I haven't played it yet, but I did buy it.
A got one too, but I think they matter more for the new generation's new region, since those were what always got the enhanced versions in the past. But my personal favorite Gen 8 change is the Infinite Easy Move Reminder. Before, if you wanted to teach a Pokemon an earlier level up move, you needed heart scales to pay the move reminder.
I remember, back in, I think, Gen 3, when I needed to get heart scales and that kind of stuff, I would go out, catch a shit ton of Love Disc, and be like, do you have a heart scale? Do you have a heart scale? Your ass better have a heart scale. And then that's like the only way that would happen, right? But now you can just make your Pokemon remember any move that you want for free and within the menu. I think I like the change overall. I think my only problem with it, it's like a me problem, is that sometimes I forget I've taught these Pokemon moves, or sometimes I forget that the Pokemon learned the move in the first place, so I change around its moves and I go, oh yeah, it would have been smarter to have this. Oops. I should have retaught this move before going to this battle. Oops. Yeah, me problem.
Which you may not have access to depending on where you are in the game. Sword and Shield just threw this guy into the Pokemon Center right from the start, and he'll do it as many times as you want for free. And also, he can change nicknames anytime you want. Before, that was just one guy in a house somewhere. BDSP backstepped this a bit, keeping the move reminder in Pastoria and still charging heart scales, but he does at least become free after you spend 10. Then from Legends Arceus onward, you don't even need the move reminder. You can just do it yourself in your Pokemon summary. But Legends Arceus is still Gen 8, the generation that made it so you could easily edit your Pokemon's movesets anytime, which is fantastic and frankly, how it always should have been. Next is Gen 6, which changed up a lot. The fact that it's still in the bottom half of this list should indicate to you how much the other ones really shook up. The most visibly obvious change is that X and Y were the first 3D Pokemon games. Each subsequent game
I remember, hold up, let me find
that X and Y were the first 3D Pokemon games.
this. Lumio City. So, when you are running around, especially on your roller skates, when you want to turn around, the entire camera shifts so fast, and sometimes, okay, I'm directionally challenged. So I'm very directionally challenged, okay? So when the entire camera shifts around like that, it kind of like, I'm like, this is just behind me. But it takes me a while to go, okay, am I going the right way? The answer's always no, by the way. Am I going the right way? I don't like this. Why camera turns so fast? And sometimes I would hold down the stick a bit too far, so it would shift me like around and around. I'd be like, oh god, man.
Games. Each subsequent game has looked different, but they're all 3D. Some of you may crave a modernized 3D pixel art hybrid aesthetic like Octopath Traveler.
I am biased. I like pixel art. What?
But I'll tell you right now, that's never happening in an official Pokemon game.
Look, I know, bro, but I have copium.
They gotta keep the kids interested.
Bleh.
You know, the people who have never played a 2D Pokemon game.
Bleh.
I was talking to a college student who started with X and Y. Yeah, feel old yet? How do you think I feel?
Maybe Schmo was right to call me old.
X and Y were also the first games to introduce character customization.
You know, I appreciated X and Y's like, okay, I appreciate the fashion choices for X and Y, but I remember there's that one store in Lumio City that basically looks at you if you haven't spent enough money or tipped, or like, I feel like it's like a style fashion meter or something like that. If you haven't done enough to like buy clothes or tip people, they'll look at you and be like, oh, no, you can't shop here. Only more stylish people can shop here, actually. And I'd be like, I just got here. Let me buy your clothes.
Becoming standard in all games after, except weirdly Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. Additionally, they boosted the shiny rates, allowing more people to enjoy the thrill of finding one. Through Poke and Me, they introduced Affection, a mechanic similar to friendship, but with impacts on playthrough battles, like toughing it out so you wouldn't feel sad. However, this ended up merging with Friendship starting in Let's Go, so it had somewhat of an impact, but not a massive one. Terrains were introduced as a new battle mechanic. They rarely appear in playthrough battles, but they often end up quite important in competitive play. And of course, Mega Evolution. I glossed over the other gimmicks, Dynamax and Terastallization, because they're region-specific features. But Mega Evolution warrants mentioning for two reasons. First, it was the first regional gimmick, and thus gets credit for starting the trend. And second, it's made it a lot farther than the others.
Yeah, like the thing is, I really liked Mega Evolutions when they introduced it in X and Y, and then it was also in like the Sapphire like remakes, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. That's it. And now it's even back in like Pokemon Legends CA, and currently the thing to do in Pokemon Champions, right? Like I really like Megas because I like seeing current Pokemon get like an extra form. And I really like a lot of the Megas that were introduced in ZA, so yay!
It's the only regional gimmick, so far, to appear outside both its original region and generation. Hoenn in Gen 6, Alola in Gen 7, Kanto in Gen 7, and Kalos in Gen 9. That's 4 of the 8 possible regions, or 4 of the 7 if you count Sinnoh and Hisui as 1, and 3 of the possible 4 generations. Meanwhile, Z-moves, Dynamax, and Terastallization have 1 region and 1 gen each.
Okay, Z-moves are so fucking broken. Z-moves are so broken. I will admit, I did like Gigantamax, just because, like, you take Pikachu, and you make him giant. And I'm like, you know, that's the fucking best. You take Pikachu and you make him giant and he's so cute. Like I like chunky Pikachu. That's why I have like a Pikachu like Squishmallow, and it's like massive. I got it from Costco. It was definitely okay. So I'm gonna show a picture of it like right here. So to the editor, I hope I remember to get you this picture. If not, please ping me. Thank you, editor. Witness fat fucking Pikachu. It's awesome. I remember because my cousin had just become like a father, like his child was born and that kind of stuff. You know, that's how you become a father. And I was like at Costco and I went, man, I could get this Pikachu for his kid. So then I bought the Pikachu, and that was my justification. I did not hand over the Pikachu. It's mine. Yeah, so anyways, it stared at me on the floor, I guess, like next to the couch, really, for like a week. And then I went, I can't part with you. I'll get them something else. I'll get his kid something else. It's okay. This is mine.
It's clearly not a staple. It'd have to appear in basically every subsequent game to count as that, but it absolutely warrants mentioning as part of a larger list, and it's definitely the most impactful regional gimmick. However, it's not the most impactful piece of Gen 6. That crown goes to the Fairy type. Alongside some other changes to the type chart, Fairy was added as a way to nerf Dragon types. It was given to many older Pokemon, and many new Fairy moves were created. It shook up the type chart in a major way, reshaping Pokemon battles throughout all of the games. This cute little dragon killer type is absolutely Gen 6's largest impact. Next is Gen 4. Gen 4 introduced some absolutely massive changes. There just weren't that many. But first I want to start with two smaller ones. First, the bag no longer gets full. That change is often overlooked and very nice.
Yeah, that is.
When my bag fills up in Gen 3, I get personally offended.
Okay, so this one, I am also offended because every time, I remember, especially, I want to say Gen 1, because obviously Gen 1 is like the first Pokemon game, so it gets a lot of slack when it comes to like these quality of life things because it's the first game. What quality of life is there? There's nothing to learn from yet, right? And there's a lot of limitations within those games as well. My bag would fill up so often. My bag would fill up so often. And then I would have to go to the PC and deposit a lot of these items. And let's just say, like Gen 1, I think the Gen 2 PC system is the same. I hated that. Because me and my spoiled Gen 3. My spoiled Gen 3 Pokemon. I always thought the PC system was similar to that. So when I was introduced to the Gen 1 PC system, and I would have to go through different like menus and boxes just to look at my Pokemon, and I'm like, why? Why is my bag so small? Back in Gen 3, I fit like a bike, I fit 3 different fishing rods, I can fit like 99 hyper potions. Which, to be fair, that's like what you can do in Gen 1 too, because whatever. Different item, right? Is what the problem tends to be. But still, I'm like, I swear, my bag, it's supposed to be an infinite pocket. It's not fair.
Second is the Masuda method for boosting shiny odds while breeding. Notable, but the vast majority of players have never used it. But now for the two big ones. First, the Wi-Fi connection.
Weepy.
Today, internet connectivity for battling and trading is a given, but that didn't exist until Diamond and Pearl, the first Pokemon games that let you trade or battle with someone that wasn't in the same room. At least if your router had the right security settings. Mine didn't, and I was 12, so I wasn't allowed to change that.
Yeah.
So I missed out on a lot of the Wi-Fi fun of Gen 4. But most importantly, in my opinion, was the physical special split.
Yeah!
Prior to Gen 4, whether a move used the attacker's physical or special attack depended on the type of the move. All water moves were special, and all rock moves were physical, etc. Gen 4 changed that. From Diamond and Pearl onwards, moves are denoted physical, special, or status individually. So Thunder Punch can be physical, while Thunderbolt remains special. This totally overhauled every battle in the game.
Yeah, it also made a lot of Pokemon that were basically, I wouldn't say useless. I guess the word would be not as viable. Yeah, a lot of those Pokemon definitely benefited from the physical special split because they would have these stats. It's like, okay, they have an amazing attack stat. Ah, shit. They're a water type. All their moves are special. Well, fuck you, I guess. I feel like Kingler would probably be like a good one. Like Crab Hammer would be special, but it's literally a crab hitting you. I feel like a crab hitting you is very physical, you know? I don't know if a crab can hit you specially.
Formerly special type Pokemon with high attack, like Kingler,
This video is not pre-watched!
finally use strong stab moves. Same for the inverse. And while there were some downsides, like Leaf Blade no longer making sense on Sceptile, this was overall a positive change that deepened
My other example I was gonna use before remembering Kingler was literally Sceptile. This video is not pre-watched.
the battle system and allowed more Pokemon to be used
Oh my god, wait, I got triggered for a second with that like 0.2 of a battle. Give me a second.
change that deepened the
Witness slow HP bar.
battle system and allowed more Pokemon to be used more flexibly. And then that's it for Gen 4. Really just the two big ones. But they are super big ones, so that's why it's up here.
Yeah, it's like super big. It's like imagine they just did the physical special split and then like suddenly, I don't know, in Gen like 8, they were like, nah, y'all can experience what Gen 3 and Gen 2 and Gen 1 had. Have fun.
We've reached the podium. And if you've enjoyed this video so far, you'll enjoy my other ones too. So consider subscribing if you haven't already. I would love to pass 3 million subscribers. But now for our third place finisher. One that you might be surprised is so high, but I assure you, it was a sneaky big deal. Generation 7. Now, unlike Gen 6 with the fairy type or Gen 4 with the physical
Let's see, I'm trying to think what was in Gen 7. HM companions instead? What else was in Gen 7 that stuck around? I'm gonna let him,
special
I'm
split,
gonna let him yap.
Gen 7 did not introduce any lasting changes to the battle system. But Pokemon is more than just battling. Sun and Moon introduced the first regional variants, new forms of older Pokemon.
Yeah, it would be this one. Yeah, because like before this, there were definitely no like variants at all, but Alola form is so cute. I love Alola form Vulpix. I love regular Vulpix too, of course. But you know, I have to say they cooked.
That adapted to different regions with different environments. Initially, to me, I thought these were gonna be Alola's version of Mega Evolution. But while Mega Evolution has come and go, regional variants have proven to be a staple. Every new region since Alola, Kasui is technically Sinnoh, but it's got a different name, so I'm counting it, has added new regional variants. While they're less likely to appear in the faithful remakes, since they weren't there in the originals, and they might appear in Legends, might not, we should expect them in every totally new region. If we don't get regional variants in Winds and Waves, I will genuinely be stunned.
Yeah.
Next, Gen 7 upheaved a precedent that I think we take for granted now. It was the first generation to add new species of Pokemon after the generation's initial games. Previous generations had introduced new forms mid-generation, like Deoxys or Giratina or Kyurem, but just forms. Even the initially unobtainable species, mythicals mainly, could be found in the code of the games. In other words, every new species was set at the moment of the generation's launch. But then, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon added 5 completely new species.
I remember the cat in the middle just because at that time, I think it was introduced in like, is it Pokemon Unite? And I played it at the time and I went, who this? Yo, who this?
In the middle of a generation.
I don't remember if my timeline remembering is correct, but I'm pretty sure they added this cat to Pokemon Unite, and I kind of just went, who the hell is this?
And then Go/Let's Go tacked on 2 more. It had never been done before, and now it happens all the time. Sword and Shield's DLC, Legends Arceus, and Scarlet and Violet's DLC all added brand new species of Pokemon after the initial launch of the generation's initial game. It certainly helps keep things interesting as a generation goes on. Sun and Moon also made it so that during the battle, you could see the stat changes and other battle effects that had happened.
Oh, I love this change. This one is so good because before you just have to remember, okay, I think they screeched me like 2 times, which means I am like minus like 4 or something like that. Or it's like, I think I've been hit with an Intimidate and a Growl, so I'm -2. And then you have to also remember the Pokemon stat changes that they apply to themselves on the opponent and your own, so it's like,
A very nice quality of life improvement. Before, it was just so easy to forget those
Yeah.
things because there was no visible indication that your attack had gone down or your defense had gone up.
Yeah, especially when doing a Nuzlocke and that kind of stuff for generations, like, I don't know, let's just say like a random one before this one, 5, right? I would be like, I think I am currently -2 defense. But I wouldn't really know unless I go back and I check, like, I don't know, my Twitch VOD or something like that, being like, oh, I was actually -3, and that's why I died instead of survive, actually. Oop.
We can't forget Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee though, which are also Gen 7 games. Different console, but consoles don't decide generations. You gotta have new starters, a new region, and a big new batch of Pokemon. These Kanto remakes also brought about some major changes. They were the first games with overworld wild encounters. I suppose we needed the power of the Switch to make it happen, but now that we're only on the Switch, it's the standard. Every single game afterward has included overworld encounters, either partially or exclusively. Even BDSP, since it has them in the underground. This is huge. Pokemon games look and play very different now, and that's thanks to what Let's Go started. Additionally, they were the first games to let you swap out your party at any time.
I forgot that they had like these cute little pixel sprites over here. I really like them. I really like them.
No more trips back to the PC, just open your menu and swap your Pokemon out there. It's super convenient, but only possible thanks to my favorite, and in my opinion the most important, change from Gen 7. The removal of HMs.
Yeah.
Until Sun and Moon, progression through the region was limited by whether you could use moves outside battle to smash rocks, cut trees, or surf over water.
I want to say Gen 4 is probably one of the worst for having, like, you know, having the need for many HMs, right? Because you want to traverse through, like, Mount Coronet towards, like, towards, like, a part of the story. Like, definitely later on in the game. I want to say you need, like, Rock Climb, Surf, you need, like, maybe Rock Smash, probably Strength, you know? And then I feel like I'm missing one, like Defog or some shit. I hated Defog. Like, you don't technically need it, but it arguably just makes it a lot nicer to traverse if you can just see in front of you.
There were even some HMs that were not explicitly required for progression, but were major quality of life improvement.
These ones! I'm talking about this one!
Namely Flash and Fly. But to use these moves, you had to actually teach them to your Pokemon. And while some, like Surf and Fly, are solid moves, most are garbage.
Yeah.
Rock Smash was 20 power in
Oh. I thought it was like 40. 20?
Gens 2 and 3. And even the good moves could be frustrating. In Gen 4, Gyarados is a strong physical attacker, and thus Aqua Tail or Waterfall are its best water moves. But without the special move Surf, it can't help you cross the ocean. And as Salt in the Wound, you can't delete them until you reach the move deleter, which is typically not in the first half of the game. Therefore, you are forced to either damage your team's movesets or deal with swapping in dedicated HM users, cutting you down to only 5 useful party members. Oh, and God forbid you wanted to use a flying type Pokemon on your team that could not learn Fly. Just, you don't get to fast travel. Forget about it. Sun and Moon, blessedly, were the first to get rid of this, introducing Poke Ride, the ability to summon special ride Pokemon to use to navigate the world.
Yeah.
And while the methods have changed over the years,
Oh. It's so cute and upset. Guys, I'm extremely weak to just Pikachu in a different outfit. Nah, the Pikachus in different outfits, like, they put a different hat on Pikachu. I'm like, that's a different Pikachu, and now I need it. I'm very simple. This Pikachu, now that it has changed its hat, is a completely different Pikachu, and now I demand it as a plushie.
From secret techniques to bikes or flying taxis to a Poketch to legendary friends, no game since has forced you to change your Pokemon's moves to travel around. HMs are well and truly dead.
Yay!
And I dance on their graves.
Yay!
Gen 7 started this better era, and it's one I'm very grateful to be in. I put Gen 7 over Gen 4 and 6 because whenever I go back to play older games, I'll notice the lack of a fairy type or the lack of a physical special split, but their absence never makes me angry. Whereas whenever I have to teach a Pokemon frickin' cut, I'd get very pissed off.
Yeah,
HMs suck. And the generation that killed them, among doing a lot of other impactful things, deserves its spot this high on the list. But now, the final two generations. They sit at the top of this list for introducing a massive amount of changes. So many that we take them for granted today. But while one of them has a stunningly long list, the others is just very impressively long. Second place is Gen 3. Ruby and Sapphire added 3 major things that still impact battles to this day, especially competitively. First, abilities. Pokemon just didn't have them before Hoenn.
You know, I always forgot when abilities got introduced, so sometimes I mix up if it gets introduced in Gen 2 or Gen 3. So now I'll remember. Surely, right?
But from that point on, Intimidate could cut the enemy attack, Levitate could offer a ground immunity, and Truant could keep slacking from ever being practical. And while many of the best abilities came later, they couldn't exist without Gen 3 introducing them. And yes, there have been some games without abilities, but just these few. And they're not going anywhere. Next is Natures. These can dramatically alter a Pokemon's stats, and their introduction gave players a way to customize their Pokemon builds. To a degree. Remember that Mints took a while to show up. And third was the introduction of double battles. While Gen 5's triple and rotation battles got just 2 generations to exist, double battles have stuck around.
I love double battles. Double battles VGC stuff is like so satisfying to watch.
Generally, few are done in a playthrough, but they've been the official way to do competitive battles for over 15 years. But it's not just battle mechanics. Gen 3 introduced Mystery Gift, used throughout the Pokemon series to distribute event Pokemon or items. Another thing it added was running. Yeah, running. Before Gen 3, you walked everywhere, but in Ruby and Sapphire, you can speed, for which I have a need. But the most important Gen 3 change, and one that I believe is widely overlooked and taken for granted, is that the Pokemon storage system became actually usable.
That's what I bitch about. That's the one.
In Gens 1 and 2, the PC was just a list of names to scroll through, difficult and confusing to navigate.
Oh. It is nice that there's an image. I assume this is Gen 2? Because I don't see no image here. Or maybe, I don't know, if it's Pokemon Yellow, it's Pokemon Yellow. But I would assume Gen 2 until you guys tell me otherwise.
There was also only the option to deposit and withdraw, no move, making the whole process take much longer.
It took so long, bro.
Especially because every time you wanted to change boxes, you had to save the game. Boxes were also smaller, only holding 20 Pokemon each in US versions, and this mattered a lot.
Yeah.
Whenever you catch a Pokemon and your party is full, that Pokemon just gets tossed into the last box you had open. This is still true today. But in Gens 1 and 2, if the box you were set on was full, you just cannot catch the Pokemon. It does not let you throw a ball.
So anyways, when I played Gen 1, I don't think I had that issue just because like it was a Nuzlocke, so you're very limited on what you can catch in the first place. But that sounds extremely annoying. Like, extremely annoying.
All but one of your boxes could be totally empty, but if you had 20 in this one and you see a cool Pokemon you want to catch, too bad! You cannot catch anything until you go back to the...
I want to point out that I believe it is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon music in the back, and I love this track. I forget if it's the one where you steal something from the Kecleon and then you just have to run for your fucking life, but it feels so familiar and so much panic. It feels like so much panic. I love it.
PC and swap the box. Of course, being forced to save the game when you do. Imagine battling a legendary and you forgot to save before. Or you're in Gen 2 and you find a random shiny, which you could not have possibly saved before. And then you just can't catch those very important Pokemon because you happened to have a full box left open. There's so much more room in there, and it just won't use it. I have played Gen 1 and Gen 2 exactly one time each when they came out on the Virtual Console, and I never go back to play, partially because their remakes are just generally a better experience, but also because I never want to deal with that stupid freaking PC. But then
That's so me, because like I have played Gen 1 exactly one time for a Soul Link, and when I was asked, hey, do you want to do Gen 2 now? I'm like, does it have the same PC system? And then I got the answer of yes. I said, no. No, I don't. It's so fine. No, I'm so fine. You know, maybe I'll play Gen 2 one day, just so that way I say I played it, you know? But no, I'm so fine, bro.
Then came Ruby and Sapphire, which just completely fixed this. The interface was made beautiful and intuitive,
Yeah, it's so
showing
cute.
all at once an entire box of instantly recognizable small Pokemon icons specific to the species that
Yeah, look, it's awesome, yeah!
you can organize to your liking. And if the box you left it hovering on is full and you catch a Pokemon, then it just puts that Pokemon into the next one. It's such a perfect design that while certain pieces have changed, the core of the Pokemon storage system has remained the same since 2002.
Yeah.
But now, by process of elimination, you know that Gen 2 is the most impactful generation. This may not surprise you. After all, it came right after Gen 1, so it was a very low bar to raise, mechanically speaking.
Yeah, like they introduced Dark and Steel here. What else happened in Gen 2? He'll tell me.
But what might surprise you is just how many things were added that you may not have even realized came from Gen 2. In fact, there are so many that I'm gonna try to keep my discussion of each quite brief. Breeding was introduced to get more Pokemon that may not appear in the wild, like more starters. Many new evolutions and pre-evolutions of old Pokemon were created, a trend that occurs in many later games.
Yeah, I like it when they add like extra evolutions for Pokemon or like pre-evolutions. Like Gen 2 started, I believe Gen 4 also did a decent amount. Like I want to say like Roselia got literally Badoo and Roserade in the same one. So things like that I really appreciate it.
Shiny Pokemon could appear,
Yay!
creating an entire community of people that seek them. The bag was organized into different categories, not just one pile of randomness. Friendship was introduced for evolution, later merging with affection. The day and night cycle was created, which is present in all subsequent games, other than Gen 3. Weirdly. They added held items.
Oh.
Held items. Those things that dramatically impact Pokemon battles. That was Gen 2!
Oh.
And held items included berries. Berries were overhauled in Gen 3 to give them the names and appearances that we know today, like Pecha or Lepa berries, but Gen 2 started them with 10 different berries, all of which were pretty much just renamed later. Gen 2 also introduced weather. You might have thought Gen 3 added weather, because, like, of course, Castform, Groudon, Kyogre, the Weather Institute. But
yeah, I thought it was Gen 3 because like, well, they have a Weather Institute where they literally have a Pokemon whose entire purpose is to change with the weather. That's crazy. Gen 2.
no, That's not
No,
the
yeah.
case. Gen 3 added hail, overworld weather, and of course the weather-related abilities, but rain dance, sunny day, and sandstorm, and of course the weathers that those moves summon, were all introduced in Gen 2. Next, Crystal version was the first game that let you play as a girl. Good!
A girl!
Feminism! And then, of course, Gen 2 introduced massive battle system overhauls. There were so many things that were broken with Gen 1 battles that Gen 2 fixed that I could not possibly list them all. But I can talk about 3 major ones.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of them, it's just like, I remember Rap was extremely broken just because the other Pokemon just wouldn't be able to move or do anything at all. There's a lot of things, Crit was based on speed and that kind of stuff. Oh god, I know a lot more, but I'm just gonna let him yap about it.
There were the most amount of type chart changes of any generation. Psychic is now weak to Ghost instead of being immune. Bug and Poison are no longer strong against each other. Fire now resists Ice. And maybe there are some others that I missed. Next and bigger though was Dark and Steel.
Yeah.
2 brand new types that dramatically changed battles, nerfed psychic types, and allowed for dozens of Pokemon designs that wouldn't have a good type fit without them.
It is very interesting seeing like things getting introduced to directly nerf something. And you can also I'd say that, yeah, Steel getting introduced makes a lot of sense. Just because like in Gen 1 where Magnemite was actually introduced in the first place, it's like that is literally something made of metal. Electric. Electric. You know? So it's like, it makes a lot of sense. Dark type being completely immune to Psychic, because Psychic in Gen 1 was completely broken.
And finally, the special split. Not the physical special split, which dealt with moves, but the special split that dealt with stats. In Gen 1, special attack and special defense were one stat, special, used to simultaneously calculate both offense and defense.
Yeah, that's why Pokemon like Alakazam were actually insane. So that's why we had like memes like Punch Kazam, where you could just teach the Alakazam, I think it was probably like what, Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, what's the other one, Ice Punch? And then I believe he was just so viable with those moves.
This was insane. Why did they do this? Like, physical, attack, and defense were always separate. Why did they lump special together? This meant that in Gen 1, strong offensive special Pokemon were also very hard to kill. Yet another reason Psychic was so OP. Gen 2 logically made them separate stats, creating a more balanced battling experience from that day forward. And there might still be other things that I missed. Gen 2's quantity of improvements and changes is unmatched. And considering how many of them are crucial and central to how all of the subsequent Pokemon games work, there is absolutely no debate. Gen 2 is the most impactful generation. After Gen 1. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to deep dive into some of the broken battle mechanics of Gen 1 that Gen 2 fixed, along with some others from other generations, check out my video on 12 broken battle mechanics that I'm glad are dead.
Hi, yo, gang gang. It is I. That feels like a small opening, but hi, it is I. Big Maple is what she calls me. But yeah, that's a lot of fun. I feel like I always get this recommendation. Kirby Music to Touch Grass 2. Highly recommend the Kirby Music to Touch Grass 2, by the way. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. I like remembering things about Pokemon. But yeah, I didn't imagine Gen 2 had that much, because the only thing I remembered was, you know, to introduce like the baby Pokemon, introduce like extra evolutions for old Pokemon, and the Dark and Steel type thing was like especially something you're like, yeah, I knew that. But I forgot about the fact that special was the same stat for defending specially and attacking specially. I'm like, oh yeah, that's why strong Psychic types were completely like so broken. Not just because Psychic type was a really good type back in Gen 1, because, well, you didn't exactly have much to counter it now, did you? But yeah, that's a lot of fun. Alright, we'll see you guys next time. Let me know what you guys want me to watch next. I'm just chilling, you know? Bye!